Well, it's a very good morning to you, good afternoon, or good evening to some of you. Welcome to the Coaching Cafe. My name is Dr. Natalie Ashdown. I'm joined by Paula Jones Hunt. Hello, Paula.
Hi everyone.
We've just done the welcome to the people that are listening to this live. Maybe you're listening to this on your favorite streaming service, but shout out to the people from South Africa who are joining us from 3 a.m. in the morning. That is absolute dedication to your professional development. And it's dawn in some countries around the world. It's midday here in Melbourne, Australia. So we welcome you all to the Coaching Cafe. Our topic for today is psychological safety, performance conversations, and coaching, and how do they all come together? Before we begin, let us acknowledge the traditional owners, the custodians on the lands which we all meet today, and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, the communities of Australia, and of course, the lands from all around the world where you're joining us today, either live or on your favourite streaming service. We pay our respects to elders. Past, present, and emerging, and elders from Indigenous communities from all around the world. And for those of you that join us a little bit earlier, we do the weather report and find out where people are joining us from. And we have so many countries and continents represented here today. So welcome to you all. Our agenda for today, we're going to look at what is psychological safety and why is it so important. It's a topic that's been on our radar for many, many years now, but has been really highlighted over the last couple of years. And what we're doing today is linking it through to performance conversations and, of course, coaching. If you are new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. We say every week, welcome. We're all here to create a great community where we share our learning experiences together and of course, have thought provoking conversations about leadership and about coaching in our workplaces. So, if you're new, welcome to the Coaching Cafe. You can interact with us via the chat box. And if you're listening to this on our favorite streaming service, then that's wonderful as well. And to our regulars, you know, we love coming together with you every single week. So, thanks and welcome back as well. If you are here to collect your ICF CCEs, that is a very good idea. And you can pick those CCEs up at the end of the session if you are listening to this live. All right, let's get into our conversation. But just before we begin, we're not directly talking about mental health in the workplace today. We do mental health first aid and we do mental health conversations in coaching, webinars on that. You can pick that up on our blog. But psychological safety or the lack of it in our workplace, it does impact people's mental health in the workplace. So, what we want to say, if you or someone you know has a lived experience with mental health, that is quite normal. But if you or someone you know needs support, we're just really going to encourage you to reach out to your support contacts. And I've got them on there on the screen. You can pick those up from our blogs as well. Many of us have employee assistance programs as well. So we're not directly talking about mental health, but psychological safety because it affects mental health in the workplace. If this causes any concern for you, this webinar, please reach out to your support contacts. So let's talk about what is psychological safety. And we're picking up two definitions here um, for us to consider. The first one is a nice simple definition which comes from the American Psychological Association, and it's basically in our workplaces, it's your ability to freely express your opinions at work without fear. And I do like that nice, simple definition, your ability to freely express your opinions at work without fear. The Centre for Creative Leadership, I often go to, and the links there are on the website as well if you'd like to pick them up. The Centre for Creative Leadership talks about the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. So they talk about psychological safety at work as a shared expectation held by members of the team. The teammates won't be embarrassed, rejected, or punished for sharing ideas, taking risk, or soliciting feedback as well. And I really do like that extended definition because it talks about how we interact in the workplace. And most importantly, in that definition, it talks about that shared responsibility of team members. And that's why I like that definition, because it's expanding out all of our responsibility, and that we are all responsible for psychological safety in our workplace. Of course, we know leaders, coaches, managers, leaders on the line that are listening to the Coaching Cafe, it is crucial for fostering trust and open communication, innovation, and of course, the overall mental well-being of our team members. So we wanted to start by giving you the definition. And now, of course, our job is to link it to our conversation around performance conversations and coaching, because it's the performance conversation season at the moment. Feel free to jump in, as I say, with any thoughts or questions on the chat that you have around that as well. So let's talk about the importance. Now, if you've picked up on our first webinar of the year, we talked about the trend in our workplaces around trust and also global indicators on trust as well. So feel free. The podcast is now up. You can hook into the podcast. You can look at our website as well. But this topic of psychological safety linked to performance conversations, linked to coaching, is so much more important now. When these trust indicators are starting to come out, and the research on trust is starting to come out more strongly as well. This is a PwC survey that talked just late last year about trust in the workplace. And it asked, and this was part of our trends, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statements about your direct manager? And the question was, I trust my manager or my top manager. So if it comes to direct manager, the trust is at 61%. But when it comes to top management, trust is at 50%. This is a major concern for us, because it means that 1 in 2 people are not trusting their direct managers or their top managers, or 61% are trusting their direct, but only 50% of people are trusting their top managers. My manager will do my manager and my top manager does what they will say and do. Again, 58% and 50%. Top manager and my manager and my top manager cares about my well-being. This is such a major concern, because this actually affects psychological safety. 57% is dropping for direct manager and only 47% for top managers. So when we're talking now about psychological safety, we're talking about trust, and now we're going to mix that in with performance conversations. You can see where we're going with this conversation, can't you? What we're worried about is, if we don't build the trust in our workplaces and focus on engagement and trust, then that's going to have a direct impact on what happens in performance conversations, and whether I even feel comfortable to speak up in performance conversations, whether those conversations are really focused on development and how I can move forward and alignment to the strategic vision of the organization, or whether they become tick boxing exercises, box ticking exercises, which we've talked about as well on earlier webinars. So the question is it a perfect storm? And I'm going to throw to you, Paula, because I know you're nodding and you've got opinions on this. And the question is this a perfect storm? Now, we're not talking about the beautiful perfect storm, which we have the image there. That is an image I captured recently in Finland on holidays, of the Northern Lights aurora on the side of the road. This is the most beautiful perfect storm I can ever imagine witnessing in my life. And I've got a beautiful picture of it there. We're not talking about that perfect storm, Paula. We're talking about this perfect storm around the mixture between psychological safety, trust, and performance conversations. I'm keen to throw to you and ask you, have we got a perfect storm going on here? And not the one we want to see, but a bit of a worry and concern.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a leader and the people coming in to have conversations with you don't trust you, then I guess the question really comes down to is how relevant or how what impact will these conversations have? What we want is for people to be able to think things out loud and say things out loud and explore ideas. So it doesn't always have to be right. And I think this is a really key part around psychological safety, is that when we present ideas or we think something through, it doesn't always have to be right, but it will often lead to something else. And if we don't create that trusting space, if we don't create a space where people will bring their thoughts, their most authentic self, we're going to miss out on things. We're going to miss out on great performance. We're going to miss out on great ideas. We're going to miss out on great improvements that can be made to someone's work and others in the workplace. So for me, I'm an optimist, and so I'm talking about what happens when we do bring those great things. But if we don't, what we have are conversations that are not genuine. We have conversations where we're ticking the box. We have conversations that don't inspire people to do more. And we've got a space where creativity doesn't grow, where thought provoking thoughts don't get thought. And it, as I'm saying it, it's making me feel stifled because that's how I feel about it. When you don't have an environment where you can safely bring ideas and thoughts and thought bubbles and when we're thinking about performance, that's where it's all going to sit.
I definitely agree with you. And this is where I think we have a massive opportunity. So thank you for sharing your insights there, Paula. And now let's just talk about how does coaching actually enable psychological safety? Now, everyone on the line who are great coaches, and I can see so many people of you on the line now. You will know this, but let's really shine a spotlight on how coaching enables psychological safety. So what we're talking, and the reason why this is so important at this time of the year, it's because performance conversations around this time of year are mostly focused on development, and they're mostly focused on KPIs for the forthcoming year, which is wonderful. They're not just cut and paste my job description and stick it into a plan. It's actually thinking about how do I want to develop and grow. And here at the Sentia group, they're also talking about how do we make an impact. So what's the impact that I want to make moving forward this year, which is a wonderful way of thinking about things. If performance conversations at this time of year are focused on how do I want to make an impact, how do I align to the purpose of the organization, how do I align to the strategic objectives and what we're trying to achieve in the organization for this year, how do I actually translate that into also my development? So how do I want to grow and develop this year? If the conversations are around that at the beginning of the year, which they should be, then we should be really taking a coaching approach. Now, that's going to sound obvious to all of you on the line, but it's worth highlighting it. And that's why we're doing this webinar early in the year as well. Coaching actually allows the psychological safety that we're talking about. Coaching allows non-judgmental conversations. So when we're taking a coaching approach to performance conversations, we're doing that in a non-judgmental way. We've got attentive listening. We're listening to the people that we're working with, and we're basically telling them through listening that their voice matters. So when it comes to performance conversations, you know that we want managers to be putting their own plans together, their own impact plans together. And if they're putting their plans together and we're listening to what they're doing there, then their voice actually matters. Of course, we know that coaching creates a safe, respectful, confidential place, a space and place for these conversations. So if we take the performance conversation, we create a safe, respectful, confidential space for doing that conversation, then we're really setting ourselves up for success. The other thing that I think is so important is that coaching allows people to be encouraged to share their thoughts and explore and be curious, it allows feedback, observations, and challenge, and allows people to express themselves without fear. They are actually the qualities that we want to be bringing through performance development conversations. We want these early conversations in the year to be that opportunity to share our thoughts, explore, be curious about our own development and about where we're going this year. We want to sort out any feedback, observations, and challenges. Yes, like let's bring those and put those on the table early in the year and allow me as the employee, as the team member, to express that without any fear of retribution. And if I do that, we're creating that psychological safe environment. So important when we think about performance conversations and setting us up for success about how we're going to grow and develop throughout the year as well, that we could actually have this concept of promoting experimentation so that there's no fear of failure. We can actually experiment, we can go out there and try things and see how we go. And if we're able to put those things into our performance plans and our matrices or whatever you're using early in the year, what a great opportunity to set ourselves up for success throughout the year. And coaching and a coaching approach allows for that. The other thing I'm thinking about also is this space for vulnerability. So it's a space where we can actually say at the beginning of the year, yes, we're aligning to the strategic vision, what we're trying to achieve, the purpose of the organization, but we're shaping the experience here that it's actually okay to experiment and that we may be nervous or unsure about what's coming this year as well. So if we can create that space where we actually allow for vulnerability, then we are actually creating that psychological safety. And the other thing, of course, and I know this is a real big concern for yourself as well, Paula, is that respect for diverse and inclusive perspectives as well. So anywhere where we're allowing diversity and inclusiveness and inclusive perspectives about how we might move forward together as a team, that's so important to our psychological safety. And again, I just remind you that everyone on the line, like, we're a community of people that believe in this kind of thing. But it is so worth highlighting it this early in the year, I think. And as we say, particularly because we're going into these really important conversations that can make a difference. Paula, let me pause for a moment and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, when we think about the year ahead, we want people to be growing and developing. And in that growth and development, there's a little bit of yeah, there's a little bit of uneasiness that sits in there because in learning you accept that you don't know something in order to learn something. So that vulnerable piece is so important. And we want people to have this environment where they can have a go. Like you can be cautious, you can be worried, you can be concerned, but it's that strength to say, yes, I'm going to have a go and I'm going to try it, and it's a safe space for me. And if I don't get it quite right, that's okay. Let's look at what did we get right? What else could we do? What did you learn from this? For me, that is where as humans we actually get the biggest amount of growth and development. And in that coaching space and taking a coaching approach is where we actually get where we create that space that allows someone to have that confidence, that conversation, to really think about what is the learning I want to get, how do I want to develop in this space. So I think it's really critical. And you're right, that respect for diverse and inclusive perspective says there's not one way of doing something, which is exactly what coaching says. Coaching says it's your way is going to be your way forward, and it allows for those ideas of difference to come out.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think that's where the performance conversations, so the development conversations that people are having at this time of year, whatever you call them, whether you call them impact conversations, performance conversations, development conversations, whatever you're calling them, those conversations are translating into a plan. And it's a plan for development, it's a plan for growth, it's a plan for KPIs. We have our key performance indicators in there, how we want to make an impact. It's translating into a document, but it can't be just the document. It has to be how we set up that conversation in the first place to really allow a person to be able to bring their best self to their work to make that impact. And then, of course, that's documented. So, again, just an opportunity to highlight all of these things to you because we think there's such a big, strong link between these three parts: trust, psychological safety, performance conversations, and coaching. Now, it wouldn't be a coaching cafe if we didn't give you a couple of tools that you can actually use in the workplace. And let's give you a couple of tools that'll help you move forward. First of all, in our certificate for in workplace and business coaching, we actually have a unit, which is an assignment, a piece of work, which is around psychological safety. And it's us thinking about ourselves as a coach. To what extent do we enable psychological safety in our workplaces through the work that we do? So, if you're a professional coach, you can have a think about this as a reflection. If you're an internal coach, of course, you can do that. If you're a coach who's coaching others and managers in the workplace, you can ask them to reflect. Now, you don't have to take a coaching approach to this. You can use the survey and switch out the terminology here. But what we've created is a survey that gets us to reflect, and you can pick this up on our website as well. And it has questions like, in my coaching, I'm focused on building trust and creating a safe space where the coachee feels respected and valued. Now, of course, you can take that question and you can say, as a manager or as a leader, I'm focused on building trust and creating a safe space where my team members feel respected and valued. So I love it how we can take this coaching tool and then score ourselves strongly disagree strongly disagree through to giving ourselves a 5 on strongly agree. Whatever you like, you can play with this. What about the next one around my coaching conversations are non-judgmental? So I can really have a good think about it myself as a coach and think, am I staying non-judgmental? Am I maintaining my coaching presence, which is part of the ICF core competencies? Am I maintaining my coaching presence? Have I quietened down the noise so that there is no non-judgmental elements coming in my head? But also, are my questions framed and is my listening framed so that I am taking a non judgmental approach? Are my verbal communications and my non verbal clues that I'm giving to my coachee? Does it speak of does it show up as non judgmental? Now, of course, you can do that if you're coaching managers or if you're a leader, whatever role you're playing. You can say, are my performance development conversations non judgmental? Are my conversations with my team members coming across as non judgmental? Am I in team meetings coming across as being non judgmental? The next one, am I focused on listening and showing the coachee that their voice matters? So, in team meetings, am I focused on listening? Am I focused on showing my team members that their voice matters? In my coaching, we would be doing that. Coaching sets up the safe space for that. But let's take it to another level and talk about, as team members, as leaders, as managers, are we showing up focused on listening and allowing people to think that their voice actually matters? And Sebastian, we love it when you jump in. Thank you for your insights as well. Uh, this, as you say, is about every conversation about performance has a judgmental element. You're saying, where is our performance at? Is it above or below expectations? And you're saying this is multiplied when there's a rating system, and it goes even further when it's linked to rewards. So you're right. Every conversation when it's linked to ratings or it's related to rewards is about judging where the person's at. I agree. But I think what you're saying here is, and I agree, it's about how we manage that element of judgment that determines the positive outcomes from the conversation. And vulnerability only happens when there's trust present. So the way I'm thinking about this with you as well is about shaping the conversation and shaping the experience. So you're absolutely right. In performance conversations that relate to a rating or that relate to remuneration or comparing ourselves to others, and we're putting ourselves on a ranking chart because that relates to remuneration. The question is, how do we use coaching to shape that experience, a positive experience? So, how do we use coaching to shape the positive experience of the development and the impact and the alignment through to strategic goals, etc., etc.? So you can use this survey, you can switch it around. Of course, acknowledge the copyright, but use it to reflect on how we are showing up within conversations, and particularly around these performance development conversations. How are we showing up? That actually, am I showing up in allowing people to make mistakes? And if this year, when we're writing those things on our plans, we acknowledge that it's okay to make mistakes, and we acknowledge that it's okay to speak up about that. To give ourselves a score on that in terms of our leadership and our management styles, but also our coaching as well, if you're using this as a coaching reflection.
Natalie, I think this is a really super cool tool for leaders to have to do before they go and have the conversations and then analyze it and go, if I want to improve in the way I've been having my conversations, if I want this to be a really great experience, what are the couple of areas that I really want to focus on when I'm having those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. And the chat is people are joining the chat now to say it is actually a really simple tool. Like you can switch out anything you like here, really. Well, what we're saying is exactly that, Paula. It's about how we're showing up as leaders in our workplaces, how we're showing up as managers, how we're showing up as coaches. And let's really put the spotlight on this. Let's be really true and authentic. Because if I mark myself maybe as a four, am I really focused on listening? Am I really showing that every team member's voice matters? Can I say that consistently that's the case? If I'm marking myself as a four, then the obvious question comes out, what else can I do to actually get myself from a four to a 4.5 or a 4.5 to a five? So put it on a rating scale. I don't have to show you how to do that. Scale yourself from a one to a 10 or a one to five, whatever. That the purpose is the reflection. And then we're thinking about ourselves, as you say, Paula, how do we take that presence, which is an ICF core competency, how do we take that presence into these conversations, these performance development or performance conversations, to build trust, to build psychological safety? You've
What I
seen this
really
tool. I beg your pardon. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what I really love about it is it's that conscious choice.
Yeah.
It's actually saying, this is how I want to be showing up for this.
Yes, absolutely. You've seen this performance conversation model as well, proud challenges improvement as plan. If you haven't seen it, pick it up in our last coaching webinar. We looked at this just last week. We're really encouraging coaching questions. We're really encouraging managers and leaders to ask great coaching questions like, what are you proud of? What do you feel like you've achieved? How are you playing to your strengths? But also ask those questions around where you're experiencing challenges, what's been the impact, what can we focus on for continuous improvement moving forward, and what steps can you take? And of course, those steps that they take is actually what can be documented in the performance plans. So again, just showing you this tool. For those of you that have done your certificate for in workplace and business coaching, you know we use this for needs analysis. You know that we use this tool for a number of different things. Very important. We've rolled this tool out for performance conversations across many organizations, and we know it works. So offering that to you. Again, if you want a full look at the tool, go and pick up our previous webinar as well. Jill, you're absolutely right. The questions are great for managers who feel uncertain about how to hold meaningful conversations. Absolutely. We want meaningful conversations. We want managers and leaders to shape the experience of these conversations. We can all remember conversations where we've walked out and those performance conversations have been a total waste of time. I remember in my early days where I knew my manager wouldn't, this is years ago, when I was a young upstart, I knew my manager wouldn't be properly prepared for a performance conversation, and I wanted a pay rise. So I came aimed with all of the information to convince my manager to give me a pay rise. And I remember that conversation when they said, "Oh, in order to give you a pay rise, Natalie, someone else might have to miss out." Well, I was 22 at the time. I had a list of people that could miss out on the pay rise. So we all remember great conversations, and we all remember ones that shaped our experience and helped us grow and develop. And we all remember the ones that were a total waste of time as well. So, yes, anything we can do to shape meaningful conversations, Jill, thank you. We agree with you. Alrighty, we're right on time. For those people that need the statistics, they are there for you. If we're trying to increase well-being, then we know that employers that provide training, such as what we're talking about, it improves their thriving and their well-being indicators. Interestingly, here's the stat that we need to use if you're going to think about how we build business cases for this as well. If managers have training and someone at their work actively encourages their development, manager thriving increases from 28% to 30%, it increases a further to 50%. So managers thriving increases if they have training and if someone at work actively encourages their development. So it's the perfect storm. It is my beautiful Northern Lights photo from Finland when we bring all of these wonderful elements together. And just like the Northern Lights in Finland, you need conditions. You need specific conditions in order to have that kind of capture. So that's what I'm thinking about as well, using that as a metaphor for there's specific conditions that we can create as managers, as leaders and coaches that create the conditions for a perfect storm in the area of performance conversations. So we'll leave you with that metaphor. We'll leave you with those ideas and thoughts. Paula, any closing comments before we finish off?
Nothing except that I love the perfect storm, and I love the idea that it's the conditions that we create that enables the perfect storm.
Thank you. Something for us to think about. Of course, reach out to us around our certificate for workplace and business coaching, where a lot of this is discussed in our diploma of leadership coaching. It's about how do we enable it as leaders. And of course, we've got all our coaching, mediation services, and everything going on. So you can reach out to that as well. As always, we say thank you for joining us, either live or on your favorite streaming service. We hope that we've given you some great ideas to be really conscious about these opportunities we have to shape the experience of performance conversations. So, as always, thank you for joining us. And we always say, enjoy your coaching.